The Gnostic movement. The Gnostic movement is the synthesis movement of the new era of Aquarius. All 7 schools of yoga are found in Gnosis, but in a synthetic and absolutely practical form. There is Tantric Hatha Yoga in the Maithuna, sexual magic. There is practical Raja Yoga in the work with the chakras. There is Gnana Yoga in the works and mental disciplines which, for millions of years, we have cultivated in secret. We have Bhakti Yoga in our prayers and rituals. We have Laya Yoga in meditation and in respiratory exercises. There is Samadhi in our practices with the Maithuna and in our profound meditations. And we live Karma Yoga through correct action, correct thought, correct feeling, etc. The secret science of the Sufis and the dancing dervishes is in Gnosis. The secret doctrine of Buddhism and Taoism is in Gnosis. The sacred magic of the Nordics is in Gnosis. The wisdom of Hermes, Buddha, Confucius, Muhammad, Quetzalcoatl, etc. is in Gnosis. And the doctrine of the Christ is Gnosis itself. Jesus of Nazareth is, in fact, the Superman of synthesis. Jesus of Nazareth was an Essene. He studied Hebrew wisdom and had 2 rabbi masters during his childhood. However, besides his profound knowledge of the Zohar and the Talmud, he is also an Egyptian initiate, an Egyptian Mason. Jesus studied in the Pyramid of Khephren. Jesus is an Egyptian Hierophant. He also traveled through Chaldea, Persia, Europe, India, and Tibet. These travels were not done with tourist intentions. Jesus traveled in order to study. There exist secret documents showing that Jesus, the great Gnostic master, stayed in Lhasa, the capital of Tibet and sacred seat of the Dalai Lama. Jesus visited the holy cathedral of Jokang in Tibet. The amount of knowledge he attained in all those countries, in all the ancient schools of mysteries, was enormous. The great master gave us all those yogic teachings. All that Buddhist, Hermetic, Zoroastrian, Talmudic, Chaldean, Tibetan wisdom, etc., but in a synthetic form, already digested in his Gnosis. Jesus did not found the Roman Catholic Church. Jesus founded the Gnostic Church, the one that existed in the time of Saint Augustine, the one known to Jerome, Empedocles, Saint Thomas, Marcion of Pontus, Clement of Alexandria, Tertullian, Saint Ambrose, Hippocrates, and all the first fathers of the Church, which in that epoch was called the Gnostic Catholic Church. The modern Roman Catholic Church was not founded by Jesus. That church is a deviation, a branch separated from holy Gnosis. Humanity needs to return to the starting point, to return to the holy Gnosis of the Hierophant Jesus the Christ, to return to primitive Christianity, to the Christianity of Gnosis. The doctrine of Jesus the Christ is the doctrine of the Essenes, the doctrine of the Nazarenes, Parataeans or Paratics, etc. In the doctrine of Jesus the Christ is found digested yoga, Tibetan magic, practical Buddhism, Hermetic science, etc., etc., etc. In Gnosis, all ancient wisdom already stands synthesized. Jesus, the Divine Master, is the instructor of the world. If we truly want inner self-realization, let us study Gnosis. Let us practice Gnosis. Let us live the path of the Gnostic Arhat. The best exposition of the secret doctrine is in the Gnostic synthesis of the great Hierophant Jesus the Christ. Gnosis saves us much work and study. If it were not for the synthesis made by the Christ, we would need to assimilate millions of books and travel throughout the entire world in order to find the path. Fortunately, one person already did that work, the Christ, who studied in the Buddhist cathedral of Jokang, investigating very ancient Tibetan books. Why should we repeat all that work of investigation? He already did it, and in a synthetic manner, he gave us the whole of yoga, and all the secret sciences. What more do we want? Our duty is to study Gnosis and to live it. That is what truly matters. If others laugh at us, attack us, or slander us, what importance does that have to science? And who cares? Be assured, dear reader, that the best of yoga is in Gnosis. The best of Buddhism, Egyptian wisdom, Chaldean teachings, Zoroastrian science, etc., is in Gnosis. So then, what else do we want? What else are we seeking? The Gnostic movement is the revolutionary movement of the new era of Aquarius. At this moment, there are many reactionary, backward people who call themselves Gnostics and anathematize us because we teach the great arcanum, the Maithuna. They say that we are doing a pansexual, sinful work. They do not want humanity to receive the key of inner self-realization. We have received letters from one of these pseudo-Rosicrucians, pseudo-Gnostics, in which he claims that he is in Gnosis and practices the Maithuna, sexual magic. But he wants that key to be withheld from suffering humanity. He says that people must be prepared before giving the Maithuna. And yet, when that leader speaks with certain students, he contradicts himself. He speaks against the Gnostic movement and against the great arcanum, qualifying us as pornographic, etc. In truth, what he wants is to prevent anyone from entering the path of the razor's edge. Those are the ones who neither enter nor allow others to enter. He knows the key of sexual magic, he knows the Maithuna, but he does not want others to know it. He is committed to hiding the truth from poor human beings. Sincerely, we have decided to fight constantly in order to initiate the new era of Aquarius. We do not care about being criticized, insulted, or betrayed. Gnosis must be given to humanity against all odds. Jesus gave Gnosis, and we deliver it to humanity at any cost. The Gnostic movement presents Gnostic knowledge in a revolutionary manner. The Gnostic movement is revolutionary 100%. It has been created to initiate the new era, which is directed by a revolutionary planet, Uranus, the planet of sexuality and constant revolution. The Gnostic Christian universal movement must fight tremendously, waging the good battle for the new era of Aquarius. All missionaries must commit themselves to a fight to the death for the victory of the Christ Jesus. All Gnostic schools must carry out extensive Gnostic promotion. Pamphlets, flyers, books, radio announcements, newspapers, etc. Whoever wants Christification must be committed to giving even the last drop of his blood to the Christ and for suffering humanity. The egotistical, those who think only of themselves and their own progress, will never attain Christification. At present, the Gnostic movement has more than 5 million persons, but it must grow further. It must become powerful and gigantic in order to transform the world for the new era, which has already begun. The war to the death must be waged against ignorance, fanaticism, and terror. It is necessary to work intensively in the great work of the Father, and to bring thousands and thousands of people into our Gnostic ranks. We must strengthen the worldwide Salvation Army. Remember, Gnostic brothers, that within the Gnosis of the cosmic Christ is the synthesis of all yogas, lodges, orders, religions, schools, systems, etc. Our great master, Jesus the Christ, studied all that yoga and all that ancient wisdom profoundly and afterwards delivered it to us in his Gnosis, already digested, simplified, and rendered absolutely practical. There is Gnosis in the Buddhist doctrine, in the Tantric Buddhism of Tibet, in the Zen Buddhism of Japan, in the Chan Buddhism of China, in the Sufis and the dancing dervishes, in Egyptian, Chaldean, Pythagorean, Greek, Aztec, Maya and Inca wisdom, etc. If we study the Christian Gospels carefully, we will find in them Pythagorean mathematics, Chaldean and Babylonian parable, and formidable Buddhist ethics. The system of teaching adopted by Jesus was that of the Essenes. Certainly, the Essenes were Gnostics 100%. The four Gospels are Gnostic, and it would be impossible to understand them without the Maithuna, sexual magic. It would be absurd to adulterate Gnosis with different teachings. The Christian gospel forbids adultery. It is absurd to imagine Gnosis without the Maithuna. We can drink the wine of Gnosis or divine wisdom in a Greek, Buddhist, Sufi, Aztec, or Egyptian cup, etc. But we must not adulterate that delicious wine with foreign doctrines. In the Gnostic movement is found the practical synthesis of Gnosis in an absolutely revolutionary form. The Gnostic movement is related to the zodiacal sign of Aquarius. Therefore, it is absolutely revolutionary. The schools of the Gnostic movement must be esoteric academies and temples of solar liturgy. In fact, the Gnostic rituals are solar liturgy. Today, the intellectual animal does not have a solar astral body. That is a luxury very few possess. The present humanoid, meaning the intellectual animal, has only ego. The intellectual animal is a slave of the lunar influence. He carries the moon within his astral substance. Truly, the humanoid is a hybrid mixture of vegetable and ghost. The only things the intellectual animal carries are the legion of the I and the asleep Buddhata, enclosed within the ego. The Gnostic movement teaches the Maithuna so that the intellectual animal may fabricate the solar astral body. It is necessary for the intellectual animal to free himself from the moon and become a solar man. The Gnostic rituals identify us with the solar force. It is necessary to fight against the lunar force in order to be truly free. That is what the Gnostic movement seeks. The moon is death. The sun is abundant life. The moon represents materialism, drunkenness, banquets, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, laziness, incredulity, and so on. The sun, by contrast, symbolizes fire, wisdom, love, the divine spirit, splendor, and more. The sun is the cosmic Christ, the Word, the great Logos. The four Gnostic Gospels constitute the solar drama, the drama of the Christ. We need to live the solar drama. We need to become the central figure of that cosmic drama. It does not matter if we are criticized or hated for divulging the Maithuna, sexual magic, for the good of this poor, suffering humanity. It is truly painful to see those poor infrasexuals in the molecular world. After death, they wander through it like shadows, sleepwalkers, asleep, cold, unconscious. Of what use can all their subjective practices be to them? Of what use are their beliefs, systems, orders, and so forth? Uselessly they will attempt liberation while despising sex, renouncing Maithuna, or following the degenerate path of homosexuals, lesbians, masturbators, and the like. Uselessly the sincerely mistaken will try to create the solar bodies through breathing exercises, yogic practices without Maithuna, similar disciplines, vegetarian diets, and so on. It has been fully demonstrated that we are children of sex, and that only sex can create. Truly, only through sex can we create the solar bodies. Only with the marvelous force of the third Logos can we become solar men. We want to teach humanity the solar religion. We want to deliver to these poor lunar phantoms the solar doctrine of the cosmic Christ, with the sole objective of the Christification of humanity. The birth of Christ in the heart of each person is urgent. It is necessary for every human being to transform himself into a superman. The Gnostic movement has a gigantic task in the era of Aquarius. We have received the sacred mission of teaching this poor humanity the doctrine of the solar Logos. We must fight to the death to make the Gnostic movement stronger and stronger. We need this movement to become omnipotent for the benefit of the countless millions of human beings who are on the path of the second death. We must be compassionate and deliver the solar doctrine to humanity at any cost. Mexico DF, January 13th, Year 3 of Aquarius. Inferential Peace, Samael Aun Weor.